So, good morning, this is Ajahn Brahm here on Tuesday, what day is it today? The 11th or 8th? Or anyway, on Tuesday morning in June from Western Australia. And it's been a busy week for me now. The lockdown has started to be relaxed, where there's more and more people coming to the monasteries to listen to the Dhamma and to practice meditation. But it's also the time that we keep on these internet-guided meditations and talks, simply because they are well received in places which aren't so fortunate, and as Western Australia. And so it's wonderful to be able to serve and give and help. And even though that this particular time with problems with trying to get equity for people of all colours and all races and without any discrimination, we always remember what the Buddha said, that a person, if you're going to measure them at all, is measured by their deeds, just by their kindness, by their goodness, by their service, by their wisdom, not from where they come from. To the point that when people used to ask Ajahn Chah, said, "No, where did you come from?" And Ajahn Chah's answer was in typical Ajahn Chah fashion, "I came from my mother's belly." Not a Thai, not a Lao, not Western, not Asian, but he came from his mother's tummy. So when we think of life in a different way, as often we can solve many of the problems in our world. However, that many people don't really want to listen to the problems or the solutions. And sometimes many people feel they're disempowered, that there's nothing they can do. And sometimes that silence is very powerful. The silence where we can take time out, where we can just come to a peaceful place. There's many peaceful places throughout our world still. But even in places I've gone to, which are supposed to be very crowded and noisy, with large populations, still you go a little bit out of the city. You can go to beaches, go to cliff sides, go to mountains, go to deserts or forests, where you can find a lot of peace. And in those places of peace and stillness, where your mind can be silent, then you can hear. If you are thinking all the time, if you are complaining all the time, then you can't really appreciate the beauty of our world. And appreciating the beauty, the peace, the stillness of our world is not to escape, it's to take time out. So when we go back into the world, we have a much, much, much better appreciation and wisdom and kindness. It reminds me of that lovely old story that when I was just turned 18, on what was like a gap 9 months before going up to university, that I went to Central America, into the jungles of the Yucatan Peninsula, and there especially to see some of these ancient ruins of the Mayan civilization. Because the Mayan civilization had disappeared before the Spanish came in to conquer those lands, no one really knew who they were or what they did, except they built these amazing pyramids in the jungle. And on that one occasion, I remember just arriving after about 3 or 4 days on the back of fishing boats and on the top of trucks, and all sorts of transports to get overland to this jungle complex called Tikal. And there I only saw just one archaeologist I expected who was fossicking around the ruins. There's no one else. There was no gates, no charges, no security. This was in 1969. And so I decided just to walk up to the top of one of those pyramids. It was a long way up, and I never knew what to expect at the top. But I do remember very clearly when I reached the top, there was a little like shelter. There are 3 sides, 3 walls with a roof on top. And this was supposed to be some place they did ceremonies. But why? It became so obvious for me. I'd been traveling through the jungles and hadn't seen great distances for days. I hadn't seen the horizon because there was jungle all over the place. But when I got to the top of those great monuments, I was above the tree line, above the tangle of vines and trees and shrubs. The jungle was so alive and close. But when you get up to the top, above the tree line, the first time in days, I could see the horizon in all directions, with nothing between me and infinity, whichever way I looked. And a beautiful, cool wind could blow over the tops of those trees. Down at the bottom, in the middle of the jungle, it was just so humid. There was hardly any movement of air at all, because the wind couldn't penetrate the thickness of that jungle. But once I had gone up to the top, then it was so peaceful, so calm, so clean air, and the vision was there all around. And you got an insight into why those jungles were there. So why those monuments were there on top of monuments were there in the middle of the jungle. Imagine what it must be like to live and be born and grow up in those jungles. And then one day be taken by some holy man or woman up to the top, the first time in your life, to see this beautiful emptiness, space, freedom all around, and nothing between you and them, and the infinity, and the beautiful, clean, calm air. I did not realize at the time, but that was a wonderful metaphor for meditation, for going out of the city, which is often the concrete jungle, and going into places of solitude and silence and peace. And there, at the top of those pyramids, outside of the jungle, in monasteries, in deserts, in mountains, in seascapes, there we can find some peace. Clean mental air to breathe. Not only that, just to see standing high above the top of the jungle, to see just the layout of the land, all the roads which one had travelled on, all of the rivers and the town where I spent the night before. I looked so close, but it had taken half a day to get there. And to get perspective, to put things into the proper perspective so that we understand, yes, there is a time to fight peacefully for some what we think is fairness in our world. I don't like the word justice, because for many people justice just means revenge. But for fairness, for understanding, for reconciliation, for peace, for not judging people. And there's a time for that. There's also a time to be peaceful. There's a time just to relax. Otherwise, you see, the just causes end up just being violent. And the main reason why they started gets subverted, perverted by the violence of frustration. So, it's great to be able to come to peaceful places where we regenerate our energies, where we can look much deeper for much better solutions. Good example of that, when I was young, I remember walking in London along the banks of the River Thames. I remember the signs, which were spaced out maybe every 50, 100 meters, warning people not to swim in that river because it was so polluted that the water was toxic. There was no fish in the Thames at that time, not in that part of the Thames. And the warning was that if you fell in, please call the ambulance and go to hospital straight away because the water was poisonous. I remember those signs. And I also remember that now there are fish in that river. The river is clean. And why? That some very clever person passed a simple law that any factory, any business, any industry which took water from that River Thames, the inlet pipe had to be downstream of their outlet pipe. So they had to take in whatever mess, whatever chemicals, whatever poisons, whatever they put into that river, they had to take in first of all, before it was even diluted by the vastness of that water. That simple rule cleaned up the River Thames. I don't know how the person thought of that, but sometimes in peace, in silence, when we're rested, we can see much deeper into things and get solutions which are both simple and highly effective. One of the reasons why, instead of worrying about things 24/7, it just makes us tired, which just makes us negative, which sometimes does lead to violence. Instead of that, just put things down, rest a while, take time off, so that when one comes out of one's half-an-hour meditation or 3-day retreat or 7-day retreat, when one comes out afterwards, one is alive, one is wise, one is able to act in such a way which changes our world for the better. So meditation, the stillness, the silence, which is a cause of effective action. So now let us do a little bit of silence and stillness and meditation and peace. I'm fortunate to be sitting in a reasonably empty hall in a forest south of Perth. Just even walking in here this morning, it was so peaceful, so silent. Just the sound of a few birds, and that was all. The silence is one of the best medicines in the world. So if you like to close your eyes, and if you're not in a silent place wherever you are meditating, just imagine silence with your eyes closed. It's like you can be anywhere in the whole world. So choose a peaceful place, a calm, silent place. Imagine you're in that bubble of silence and calm and safety. And also imagine that this is a no-work zone. It's not the time to solve the problems of your busyness, or of your family, or of the world. This is a time for peace. And we grant ourselves this moment, this sacred site inside of ourselves of peacefulness. And then, once a minimum amount of safety and minimum amount of peace is established, it's easier to be aware when we're not so distracted by the problems of the world or the problems of our business or of our family. This is our time out, our rest. We go inside, first to our body. How are your legs situated right now? Are they comfortable? This is where we are kind. First of all, kind to our legs. Looking at them like you look after your mother, or you look after your child, or look after a best friend. How are you? Is there something I can give for you? And you mean it. When you have awareness and kindness to a part of your body, that part of the body relaxes. Tightness, the stress, the inflammation tends to reduce through awareness and kindness. Watch your legs, to start of that part of your body, are relaxed. Then we move up to our bottom, our butt, making sure that that is as comfortable as it can be, sitting on a chair, on a cushion or a stool. Moving up to your back, starting obviously your waist area, and moving up the spine, relaxing everything as you go. If you find any area of your back is tight or hurting, stop there. Stop there. Zoom in with your mindfulness and give lots and lots of kindness, lots of care. The kindness has an effect, good effect. It relaxes, takes away the fear and the pain, and heals. When you get to the top of your back and down the shoulders, making sure they're as relaxed as you can manage. Down the arms, past the elbows, the wrists and the hands. Just pause a little bit at the hands. There's so many nerve endings in your hands. They can be very sensitive. To get to know the comfort level of your hands. Make sure they're put in such a position. If you want, so your hands feel happy, content, at ease. Being really fully aware, as much as you can, of the feelings in your hands. Being kind, wishing them well. You feel the result. everything just gets so delightfully at ease. Then we move back quickly up to our shoulders and neck. Always make sure my head is well balanced on top of the neck. Any irritations in my throat are accepted with warmth. I notice when I try to get rid of things, it gets tense and worse. And I allow things to be. Feelings get less severe and even disappear. I'm kind. And you go up to your face, relaxing all the muscles you can notice in your face, especially around the eyes and the mouth. I often notice tightness when I start meditating around my facial muscles. It's like a string which is pulled tight. I have to loosen both ends. You can feel those muscles now start to become at ease. I'm not forcing. I'm not striving. I'm being aware, very kind. And then you notice your whole body sitting. This awareness of one organism, all relaxed, at ease. It starts to feel delightful. This is perceiving, learning to perceive, training to notice the delight, the happiness of physical relaxation. As soon as that perception of delight arises, the relaxation goes deeper. The body really relaxes. And because it's a pleasant feeling, it's easy to remain aware of it. You don't need to focus. The mind is drawn to the delight of a relaxed body. It feels good. And it comes a time to relax your mind. Go to your peaceometer. How peaceful are you now? because I'm in a peaceful place. I sometimes learn to listen to the peace outside and bring it inside. The peace of my mind is more deep, more solid than the peace in the forest. No time, no past, no future, just this moment. The only possession I have. And listening, not taking notes, not making statements or arguments. Just knowing in silence. If you start to become aware of your breathing, natural, always remember to treat the breath as a friend. Don't go searching for it and dragging it in. That's not friendly. When it comes, hold its hand. That's just a metaphor. Enjoy its company, not controlling it. You find the breath will stay with you. A peaceful rhythm. Watching the breath come in. Watching the breath go away. There's nothing else to do in the whole world. you could notice delights, a peaceful mind. The joy of being out of the world, above the jungle, nothing between you, as far as you can know. Using the simile of the Great Pyramid in the jungles. Refreshing, cool, so many insights in every direction. Getting close to the end of the meditation now. How do you feel? When we come out of the meditation, come out into the world, when we come recharged, be able to see things from a different perspective, really being able to serve and help far more effectively. Please now, when the gong finishes sounding, open your eyes. So now give a short blessing. Sabbaroga vinimuto, sabba santapavajito, sabba veramati gando, nibbutto chatuang bhava, sabitio viva chantu sabbarogo, vinasatu mate bhavan, vantarayo sukhiti kayugo bhavapiva, danhasili nichak utapachalino, Chataro Dhamma Vatanti, Ayuano Sukhang Balang. May you all be happy, in good health, and be able to serve those who are in more need than we are. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.